on the set in 3, 2, 1, going live.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of HB Unplugged. We're rocking away. HB, be sure to subscribe to our channel. And I'm Mel Craig.
And I'm Don Ramsey.
And we got a special guest, couple guests here today that made a big impact over the weekend here. It's 4th of July weekend passed up. And we're very excited to introduce Aaron Kaufman and Tyler Wolff. And let's give them a big hand.
Hey, thanks so much,
look at all
guys.
the people here.
Thank you, guys.
You didn't know I was going to invite all these people, you know?
Yeah. The audience is bigger than I expected.
Yeah, really. Yeah. Anyway, so, you know, Aaron, it's been an interesting week. You know, first day, Don called me and said, hey, a couple guys want to meet you. You know, I'm never surprised who walks through my door. You know, we've grown a business and we've grown a brand. And
sure.
And he says, these two guys, who is it? Well, you'll just see him when you walked in. I looked at you, you saw that dumbfounded look. And then you said it was the beard.
Yeah,
I went, oh, yeah, it's gone. It looks like it's coming back.
Yeah, it's like I'm not follically challenged. So ultimately, I change my appearance often, but the beard comes back quite quickly.
Oh, wow.
I'm trying in case you know.
Yeah.
I mean, my son can grow a beard. I can't.
Yeah.
You know, none of my brothers could.
Save some money on razors. And
whiskers come out, but that's about it.
Yeah.
All right, you guys, so let's rock and roll. So, you know, we kind of want to let everyone know what we do here. It's all about the Huntington Beach community.
Good.
It's all about what we do here in Huntington Beach. And there's a big tie here between us because you made a statement the other day about why you're doing the car show and stuff. We're going to get to that.
I make a lot of statements.
Yeah, but it's a big one for me because in 2015, Don knows what I tried to accomplish and what I pretty much did accomplish was, you know, that Huntington Beach is Surf City. We all know that. You know, it's the surfing capital of the world. I mean, you can travel almost anywhere in the world and say you're from Huntington Beach, and people go, "Oh, I know that place."
They know, and they know why.
Yeah, from east to west, everybody knows that. And in 2015, I really wanted to try to make an impact because a lot of people, Aaron, Tyler, they don't know that Huntington Beach is, in fact, the hot rod capital of the country.
It is.
I mean, for the amount of, I always tell this to people, there's some really cool stats that people don't know about. Like 1 out of every 5 garages here in Huntington Beach has a project car.
Yeah.
You know, the who's who at one time, Jesse James, Rich Evans, you know, Mike and Ant. Yeah, I mean,
certainly Southern California in the Orange County area for a fact, even if not outright Huntington. And you know, just to jump right into it, we can go back, touch on the history, but like my connection here is exclusively cars. My connection here is Chip Foose and Bud Bertzman building the overhauling deal, and so my connection here, the people I know, is exclusively through building cars. It really doesn't have anything to do with surfing. Although the first time I ever surfed was here, and it turns out those floating trash bags in the ocean are jellyfish, and they weren't. So
and they stink.
Yeah, so I learned a lesson on my first time out. But my experience here is cars. That is how I know Huntington Beach. And then ultimately, you know, it's like I'm not the foremost authority or historian on, you know, automobiles racing. However, it's like when we talk about automobile racing, the first automobile races happened when there were 2 cars, right? So it's been happening a long time, and a lot of these things that happened in El Mirage, that happened in Bonneville before World War II, it's come out of Southern California, particularly this area. And you know, and things were different. It was much more rural then, and then also the space industry and military. There were a lot of cast-offs. So if you were a hot rodder here, it was easier to have access to some of these items. Not to mention, let's be honest, the weather is conducive to building hot rods, roadsters, driving unfinished vehicles year-round, as opposed to the Midwest or further north or further east, where it's contained to just a few months during the summer, right? And so it really is that lifestyle. It's like, you know, where you can throw your surfboard, your dog. It's like you can go hike, you can go swimming, go surfing. And it's like in a lot of that, you know, active lifestyle, we do find a lot of crossover between, you know, bicycles, skateboards, surfboards, and hot rodding. And really because hot rodding is expression. And I really would challenge people to understand that action sports really is about freedom of expression, right? Yeah. You know, it's a physical activity, but it is expression, how you feel like moving, right? It's the same thing with the cars, and that's the art behind it is expression.
Yeah. It's funny you bring that up because look at the Beach Boys. Jan and
of
Dean,
course,
they all sing about hot rods and you know, Little Deuce Coupe, little old lady from Pasadena. I mean, think about the music that was tied to the industry as well.
Anything that's deeply inspiring, you know, it's, you know, hot rods and women. It's like, what do we write songs about, right?
Well, so that's why I started the Cowabunga Van Clan. 'Cause I grew up here surfing out of a VW bus as a kid growing up here. no one could afford a Woody, but you could buy a VW bus for $500.
Yeah.
And after I sold some other cars, I bought another 6721 window, and I decided to start the club I have. Now it's taken over. It's massive what I get to do, but it's all because, the car culture, really. It's about a VW bus, at least for me. But yeah, growing up here.
It's funny because Don is into the surfing and VW buses, but his brother Jim is into the lowriders.
Lowrider.
He's got a
HB Gabachos.
Yeah, HB Gabachos. He's a lowrider club.
That's very cool. That's one thing that at the show that Tyler and I just put together for Main Street, just a little carnival sideshow, right? On Main. It's not a car show. When we say car show, you tend to think Mustangs and Chevelles, and it's like this kind of standard thing. Really, what we were hoping to do, and because it was a holiday, and I don't do holiday, so I didn't realize that other people plan things, right? And so it was challenging. We were unable to get a lot of cars, but the cars, and I really want to take this opportunity to give a shout out to Cliffside. They really helped us pull this thing together. And what I was trying to showcase is a craftsmanship show. And so what that means is it wasn't about hot rods, wasn't about pro touring, wasn't about pro street, wasn't about off-road trucks, wasn't about any specific thing. What it was with X amount of talent, with X amount of passion, these are the outcomes, and they all are just a freedom of expression.
That's
so
what
I would
it was.
I would challenge people. I would challenge people to to rethink how they think about a big nasty road race car versus a lowrider. We're talking similar level of hours, similar level of dedications, and different talents in different areas. And so not every artist paints the same picture. Not every photographer takes the same photo, but yet we can appreciate it the same way. And I think that's lost in the car world. There's so much denigration against, I'm not into that style or that's junk. Sure, there's plenty of examples of junk out there. But at the same time, though, at the same level of talent, same level of passion, same level of dedication, you're going to have similar outcomes. They just look different to everybody. And so my interest in having car shows is not put the number of cars out, but it show people the stoke, the dedication, and the passion that comes behind it, because ultimately it is just a form of expression to me.
Fantastic, yeah. Well, let's go back to growing up. Let's talk about, we always talk about growing up and what it was like growing up, and where'd you grow up and your family a little bit?
North Texas, real simple. Don't come from a hot rodding community. My father was a big hot rodder before I was born, but my father's a serious man. And when children came along, he got the job and went to work and started doing those things, and hot rods and swapping motors and things like that for himself personally fell to the wayside. But I'll tell you this: when I was a kid, my dad for other money, his side hustle would be, my dad would put me in a 65 Ford long bed truck, had a Pontiac 400 in it. We'd ride over to someone's house. I'd sit in the front yard. He'd pull a motor out, and then they'd need a motor replaced. He'd put another motor in, and we'd clean up and get in the truck and go home. And this would be evenings. Like, my dad would go do motor swaps for people, and I remember that very clearly. But there were no project cars. There were no hot rods. There were no building headers or frames or slamming trucks or lifting. None of that stuff happened.
Right.
And then my father, my brother is really technology savvy, like my dad became, but I have his mechanical ability, and it is inherent, the way I see things, the way I feel things when it comes to machines.
Yeah, I agree.
And so my dad nurtured that, right? So my dad got me a toolbox when I was like 15 with tools in it, got me all set up, and because I'd been leaving his in the yard and had to learn the value of running over hammers with lawnmowers, and so my dad fostered it. When I was 16, he bought me a Little Ranger pickup truck, and me and my friends drove all over the world, BMXing and go riding street. And my parents gave me a lot of rope, and they warned me that if I misused it, they'd hang me with it, And not to say that I didn't get in trouble, but I'll tell you, maybe a lot of your listeners, maybe they remember this, pumping quarters into a payphone so your mom can yell at you for 45 minutes, Yeah. And so they.
Where are you right now?
Yeah, and I'll tell you. So it's a pretty short. The rest of this pretty short story of how I got here is that whenever I wanted to have something cool or custom, mowing lawns and this and that, making money where I could, I scraped my money together. I bought a little Jeep 84 Jeep Cherokee 2-door, and it had a blown up transmission. My dad helped me drag it back to the house. My dad goes, "Here's the barn. Here's the tools. Figure it out. Here's the book. Figure it out. If you got a question, come ask me." And it's difficult. I've had to learn how to be a teacher because my dad was like, just figure it out. And I've realized that not everyone has that component that can just find their way to the end. So it's taken me a while.
Figure it out.
Yeah, it's taken me a while to learn how to be a good teacher. But at the same time, I love that that's how I learned. Just figure it out. And so I got transmission, made it up out of a CJ and this and that, and dealing with guys at the parts store back when there were real parts stores. And we got it put together, and then through that I lifted it and got a driveline vibration, pretty common. ordered a driveline vibration repair kit, which when I got it in the mail ended up being 2 pieces of 1x2 rec tube with 3 holes drilled in it. At that moment, I realized that if I needed a part, I would just try to build it. If I couldn't build it, they would still sell
You
one.
mean fabricate it on your own?
Fabricate it on my own. If I needed something, I would just build it. If I couldn't build it, then I would just buy it. Right? As it turns out, I could build a lot of stuff, and I was very thirsty for the knowledge.
Wow, I see
and
it now.
and so every time, and the other thing is, I've always thought that if I saw someone doing it, not only could I do it, I could do it better. That was my approach to everything, and it's paid in spades. So far I've been pretty close to right. I learn really quickly, and so every time I had an interest in something, I dive in, eyeball deep, and start treading water. And it's been a wonderful experience. But that's where it comes from. Is I bought parts, I was unimpressed with them, and then I realized this is just stuff with holes in it. And so and from there you start growing and evolving and learning, and that's the story of getting started.
Yeah, cool. Wow. Mom and Dad still alive?
Yeah. Cool. I'm very fortunate. I'm very, very fortunate.
Any brothers and sisters?
I do. My brother's 2.5 years to the day younger than me, and he's retired Air Force now. And and he's one of the smartest people that I know. And I'm a big dummy, but I'm good with machines.
That's all. When it comes to you guys' relationship, Tyler, why don't you jump in here and anytime you want to?
Yeah, I was curious. How did you guys meet?
I don't know. I think it was about
happened.
2015, 2016. I was doing a cover shoot for a couple different magazines, and we just met on set of that shoot. And him and I just had a creative vision that kind of matched on how we like to get stuff done and how we like to build stuff. We like challenges, and I think in 2016 we were watching the Gymkhana series come out. We were looking at the budgets they spent on those, which were incredibly huge, and we thought we could do it cheaper and have a little bit more fun. And we shot a piece called TikTok featuring his Falcon. And would that break 1 million views?
Yeah, I don't even stay up on it. I mean, Tyler keeps up with those things. But it did.
Alejandro does the same for me. I don't know what it is.
Let's talk about that project. And
sure,
how it came about.
Absolutely. And I think there's several little key notes that for us at least are big points. And I think for other people they might not be. I remember my first time doing a radio show too. There's a ringer button on the side of that thing, Don.
All right, yeah, I love it. Keep going.
Oh, so anyways, we'd had a few free weekends and had a couple ideas, and we were just sitting around the shop talking shit about, hey, let's see what we can do. And we started pulling our resources and pulling people together, and something started coming together pretty quickly. And Fort Worth at the time didn't really have a film commission, and they were kind of rivaling Dallas and trying to bring more business there. And we just started making calls and seeing what we could get clearance for and pushing all the boundaries we could. And a few weeks later, we had a piece that was pretty solid, went viral, broke the internet. I mean,
yeah, we were definitely proud of it. And I'll tell you, it's like at the time, and I was fortunate enough to get to know Ken through some racing and through some other things we did. And at that point, he was just a massive inspiration to me. I couldn't believe that you could do some of the things that Ken was doing, and so we wanted to chase it. We wanted to sample some of it, and so and we thought, we know some of the things.
Well, Dallas isn't far from Fort Worth.
30 miles.
Dallas, Fort Worth.
Yeah, it's 30 miles, and it's like, and honestly, it's all connected. Like, I mean, people in LA Basin here kind of understand because like everyone calls it LA, although we know all the different cities. Right. And Dallas, Fort Worth, it's like you can be in town for 2 hours at freeway speed. You know what I mean? So big area. It's a really big metropolitan area. But Fort Worth was looking to break out and be their own. And Tyler, and the important thing is about our relationship is that like I'm very action oriented. What I mean is like I'm a hands-on kind of guy. When it comes to planning, organizing, communication, which is something I'm very, very bad at, is communication. And Tyler's not. He's really good at the planning and the organizing and making things happen and getting the right people together. And
so you found a structure, and one balance out the other.
Yeah, we really did. And
really
and I'll tell you, and I was very interested. It's from doing television. It's fun to do TV, but the type of TV we were doing is making cars can be monotonous, right? And so we wanted something that was more kinetic and more fun, and not to mention watching what Ken and the guys were doing over there. It's like we wanted to try some of that stuff, and that's really how we got going. And also, I had never really done like the writing or the creative. And this is something that Tyler let me be a part of, rather than being told. He said, how do you see this? How do you want to do it? Stunt coordination. Where do we need to be? How are we going to do these things? And so it really, for me, was Tyler was the entry point into the creative aspect behind the camera for me.
You know what's interesting about that? What you just, my hat's off to you, because what you just admitted is that, hey, I can't do it all. Ego, pride, we see a lot of it in the surfing industry, in the car culture. I see a lot of ego and stuff. But what you did is you said, hey, I'm going to put that aside because I could use this help. Yeah, this is where I can capitalize. It was so cool that you reached out and the two of you found that chemistry.
For me, my entire life, friendships, business, and otherwise has been about collaboration. I think that when people come together and bring their ideas together, things grow that you wouldn't get otherwise. You can't build things
if you
on your own.
connect. Which you guys found.
And if you find talented, and so this is the one thing that I found in the shop, and I think it translates across doing media, is that if you hire or on your team you have the right talented people and you give them the space to do what they're good at, it's like that's where amazing things start to flow from. It's like you can't cork it up, you can't bottle it too much, but if you get the right talent on board on the right projects, and everybody's this is the key to me, which Tyler will yell at me when we get in the car, but like the key is right, like if everyone has the same vision for the output, like we can discuss how we get there, and that's where challenges will arise, is how we get there. But ultimately, as long as everybody on the team has the same vision for the end result, then I think that you can really do some amazing things. And about that time, I was starting to understand how much my ego could get in my own way and let go of it. And Tyler has, I'll tell you this, around Tyler, he surrounds himself with really some of the most talented, really amazing people. And I had a wonderful time working with him on so many things. And we started doing projects from there.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I'm just blown away that when we talk about our egos, because I got one. Because I started accomplishing. I'm nowhere near. I'm nowhere near an Aaron Kaufman. But I started to grow something really cool on a global basis.
You have to have a little bit of that ego to be successful.
That's where the delusion comes from, right?
But it only takes you one time to get your ass kicked, financially or business wise. You get your ass kicked, and it humbles you real quick,
instantly.
All of a sudden, it's like, wow. I'm not who I think I am, or I'm not all that, that type of thing.
But you learn, and it makes you stronger.
It makes you a better person.
That's one of the things that connected.
For some of us, it makes us a better person.
Yes, bingo. Yeah. For me and him and our core team, we've had our core group of team and our friends for a long time. The one thing that we've always liked is a challenge. If somebody's ever said that's impossible, you guys aren't going to be able to pull that off.
That's the fuel for the fire.
That is the fuel for us, is to build things.
You told no, really?
Yeah, that.
Serious?
And and then the one thing that our group is big on is bringing people together and letting people have an experience, because we live in a society right now that I feel like it's just disposable. Media just swipe through, and you don't really take anything in. So everything that we're building, we're trying to leave people with a feeling, leave people with something that makes them feel good, that they want to share, that they can experience. And that's important. I feel like we're losing that today.
Yeah, the impact is lost.
Well, and that it's on the other side of the screen. You see all the numbers and hearts, likes, et cetera, whatever it is. But like when you're out, whether you're in the desert or whether you're in the woods or in a parking lot or on the street with someone, you're having a shared experience with these people. And there is something that is tangible about that, right? That doesn't come through the screen. And like that's, maybe we're getting old, right? Like maybe we're fuddy-duddies, but like the phone doesn't do it for me. It's like I want to smell it, feel it, be there. Wow, and like I want to. So and the other thing is, for me personally, when people want to when they want to talk about something, they show me their phone. It's like, I'll be honest, I really can't. I don't want to watch the video at all. I want you to tell me, how did it feel? The run up? What was your fears?
Oh, we had that on Friday.
Yeah.
When I said we were talking about racing, I wanted to show you the Radford car.
I said, tell me about it.
And then we were done with. We looked at a couple of pictures of the car with us working on it, and then I explained to you. I said, "Here's what I saw with Tanner climbing into that car and trying to be fitted."
Yeah,
and then we just rolled.
How would you?
I would have never known anything about race car like to what you explained to me. Don was even telling me physical fitness wise, what you have to do to be a driver.
People don't understand the athleticism, but the thing is like, I wanted you were there having this experience. what picture would you have shown me to explain
never.
Never. But your words, you explaining the experience, I felt like I was there, what you were going through, what you experienced. That's what I want. I want people to tell me their story.
Yeah, when you sit there and I get called in from Ant and I go there, and next thing I know, it's Ant, it's Chip Foose, it's Mike Brewer, it's Tanner Faust. I'm sitting there going,
you also notice how small a community this
is.
is.
Yeah. And I got goosebumps just saying that because it was so exciting to be able to team up with people to work on a car like that. Very exciting. And yeah, you're right. You can't show that.
Yeah.
You don't look at the picture and go, "Oh, there's Mel with so and so."
Think about when you had your first little BMX bike and you had 2 bricks and a 2x4
Mine
stacked
was a
up
surfboard, but yeah, go ahead.
There you go. And like you're gonna jump over your buddy on the sidewalk, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like what? Suppose there was a picture of this and you got a whole 12 inches of air off that thing, right? Yeah. But when you tell me the story, this is Evel Knievel. You're throttling up to jump at Caesars. You know what I mean? And this is in the front lawn with mom on a lawn chair, right? You know, it's like the emotion when you're that size is just that big, and it's like that's the story. That's the thing I try and share with people. Is like it's just that. Like we were here a short time, and pictures don't do it justice.
We like to leave people with a tangible feeling because you don't lose that anywhere in life. If you feel something, whether it's an event, whether you're watching something, when you share that with other people, you can't hide the excitement. You can't get rid of that. That stays with you forever.
The stoke, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's what it really is all about, the stoke, and how much you. For us surfing all of our life, to experience some of the waves that we've been able to surf, you even if we had a photograph of it,
that's 100.
People would not get it.
No, if you haven't stood up, if you haven't taken a wave, it's like you can tell someone about it, but they'll never quite get it. But it's one of those things we try and share. Like for me with cars and some of the more action stuff, we really try and share that. Like when you see people take out the kids and take them out surfing and get them paddling out and dropping into the first wave, it's like that's a big thing. And they shared it with someone, and you shared it with the next generation. And so we just try and do it in my area, you know.
And that's a hard thing sometimes to translate on screen because we do a lot of different projects together, whether it's TV or in person, but we try to consider what we shoot and how we edit and all of the factors that we put together to make people feel something at the end. Because we'll take trade school for example with Rob Holland. I don't know if you want to say a couple of words about Rob.
Yeah, actually, if you mind 1 second, it's like we lost a friend. It was last year. Rob Holland was a U.S. aerobatic pilot, in my opinion, an absolute stud. But no matter how good he was behind the stick, he was a better human being and an absolute champion. And we had Tyler arranged, once again, something I never could have put together. I don't know how to talk to people this way. And so I got to go out and share my Falcon and my love of driving, and he got to share his love of being a pilot in airplanes. And to me, they're all the same: helicopters, boats. It's like airplanes, race cars, hot rods, rock crawlers, just machines. I'm into them all. And so we got to share that, and I got to spend some time in the cockpit and show Rob Holland some things, and he showed me some things in the airplane. And sadly, there was a malfunction with an aircraft, and he lost his life. And this really one of the greatest American pilots, and categorically speaking, a world champion. And so he put that together, and so I got to have this big experience with a guy that I didn't know and quickly became a hero of mine.
I'm pretty sure that was all on the news.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so through Tyler, through cars, through filmmaking, through television, boy, howdy. I mean, the people Tyler knows, is the roster's wild, but the people that I've got to meet, people ask me about doing television and greatest thing and all this stuff, right? It's the Rolodex, right? It's the people you met, the stories, the stories you'll never share, the late night conversations in a parking lot. Hey, I'm going to roll out of here in 5 minutes. 2 hours later, still sitting on the tailgate, just trying to chop up the whole world. And so that experience, which I cherish. So I don't have a pilot's license, and I may never, but he let me do nose over tail tumbles in his extra.
Holy shit! Really?
100%.
He must have guided you down the path of success.
Well, like I said, I pick things up quickly.
I'll send you the video. You'll be surprised.
Yeah, and so I've gotten to fly with the so with I've flown 2 F-16s or gotten to fly in them, and they gave the ship to me and let me fly it for a little bit and through different opportunities. One in television, and one just through an incentive ride with the Air Force. And so it's but flying with Rob Holland was something else. I mean, a world.
It's got to be a totally different experience.
World level aerobatic pilot, and he told me what needed to be done. First one I failed miserably. The second one was a little bit of a flop. The third one I got 2 nose over tails and then pulled out right into a mechanical stall, which was something new for me altogether. And but I had this champion with me, and this guy that I trusted absolutely to get me through these situations. And I didn't find that situation. It didn't find me. Tyler produced it, and so that's our friend. It's like I'm kind of like a little tick, right? Like it's like he finds these great opportunities and puts them together and makes them a possibility, and I get to go have a lot of great fun, and I've learned a lot about how to film these things and how to build the story, with Tyler.
So the reason I brought that up was we like to spend a lot of time letting our fans and our friends live vicariously through what we're producing. So on that piece, we took a lot of time and care with some custom camera mounts, with things to really make it feel like you were in that plane, in that car, sitting with them, learning with them, and you left that piece like you stepped out of the airplane. That's what we want to
walk
deliver.
away from it like actually feeling the adrenaline.
Yeah.
I'd like to think so.
Yeah.
So those are the things that we really want to accomplish with everything that we've got going moving forward.
Yeah.
Like we want.
You mentioned something about the tailgate, sitting on the tailgate and shooting the shit. I always try to tell people that I started detailing in 1979. I learned from my brothers. I went to the very first SEMA show. I was 10
really?
Years, I was 10
How
years
about
old.
that?
It was in Dodger Stadium. It was really cool. I probably met some of the biggest big shots, in later years that became legends. But I was just a 10-year-old snot-nosed little brat hanging with my 2 brothers that took me there. Anyway,
I didn't know you could polish dinosaur scales that hard.
yeah, really, no shit. And in 1979, when I got out of the Army and I started realizing I was going to do car care for a full-time living, I'm going back to this tailgate thing. There's a method of my madness here. But I remember there was never an industry, you guys. There was never a car care industry.
That's
it was
right.
just, I always tell people, if you find successful people, financially or family-wise, I always attribute to success, not just money. It's success, a lifestyle.
Yeah.
And when you find these guys, like Don and I and you guys, I always ask the successful guys, when they were young, they either threw a newspaper, mowed lawns, or detailed a car, washed a car.
Yeah.
One of those 3 things. It was part of their growing up. Like you did it to make a few extra dollars. Fast forward to 2005 and 6, when I actually started noticing an industry coming out of detailing, because all of a sudden the internet birthed, and I was helping a company called Right Look, and we were developing, a training system and supplying the students with everything they needed. And that came out, years I feel like a pioneer here, because what came out of that in 2008 and 9 and 10 was this thing called the car care industry.
Yeah.
And Jason Rose, myself, and another guy named Paul Weiler, we would sit in my shop down in Oceanside after hours, pop open a couple Coronas, and we'd just sit there and play, figure it out. Like, well, if we did this,
That's
about
where
this?
real growth happens.
Yeah,
Those
it was-
moments.
yeah.
People
And
think
that's
it's
trial
another
and error.
thing you can't share that with people. They
people
don't
think
get
it's
it.
in boardrooms and in meetings, and it's not.
Today's detailer comes on board and thinks, "Oh yeah, this is just always has been."
No.
Yeah.
And it's a
No,
trip
because
to see.
at one point it was 2 different brands of wax, and it was
Oh,
chamois,
yeah,
and that was it, right?
Yeah, I had growing up in the industry, and especially in the 80s, I had a DeWalt, and I had 3 pads. They were 14-inch, 1 wool and 2 foam, and they actually screwed onto my DeWalt. And yet we were still successful in making paint look good.
I mean, at the time, absolutely.
It was mostly a single stage paint.
I'll tell you also.
We had a good talk about that on Friday too. About polishing.
Absolutely, and and I do think that, like everything in my industry and your industry, and I think in every industry, I don't think that you can be on the forefront, you can be on the leading edge without understanding where you came from, how you got here.
Yeah.
Because I think that it's so easy to make missteps in how you're communicating or what you're actually doing if you're so focused on the here and now. And that is where we live. But at the same time, though, if you understand where we came from and how we got here, I think it's really important for navigating where we're gonna go.
That's in both of our industries.
Yeah.
I try to explain to people, especially if they come to my training class and they want to learn this industry. I try to tell them it's not what I know how to do. It's what I actually do. And I said
more what you know not to do.
Right. And I said your training this week comes from my old school foundation.
Yep.
I said, there's a lot of things I can't teach you because they don't exist anymore. But your foundation comes from that.
Yeah.
Your training comes from that
And
foundation.
that's the why. When someone does something, you go, well, this is how it's done. I hear that a lot. Not say like all the younger kids, but anyone who's greener to it, regardless of age,
Yeah, you're
to,
right.
to whatever it is, they go, well, that's how it's done. But do you understand why it's that way?
Yeah,
It's like these were the successes and failures, and this is why we navigated this way, and that'll help you. I mean, I think it really helps you be good at your craft, and I think that's a defining part, right? Some people have jobs, they have a job, and some people even get good at their jobs. But when you have a craft, the difference is every day you walk out of the shop, the intention is to be better than when you walked in.
Yeah.
And I do think that's a defining characteristic of having a craft and not a job, right? Is that specifically? And I'll tell you something about passion. I think you can identify passion pretty quickly too. When people are green and they want to get paid for work, which I understand we all got bills, right? But when I started, I was willing to do absolutely anything for free, so I had more experience and more know-how than anyone around me. I knew more than anyone I knew at the time, and I would sponge off of anyone. Do you need help? Can I do that? What will you charge me? Bring me all the parts. I'll do it. Because like if I screwed it up and they didn't pay me, well, they got what they paid for, right? But I found out how high rate of success, and I'll tell you another thing is like Scott McMillan, high school friend, and he was on TV show with me with Casey and I. We were all high school buddies, and Jonathan Mansour, all the guys on TV. Those were all my high school buddies, right? And we used to sit in Scott's driveway, and his dad would sit there in the tailgate. We'd pull out a piece of 1/4-inch plate steel. We'd learn. He'd show us how to fire up a oxyacetylene torch, and we'd have a little contest for who could cut out the best perfect circles. And we would just chop up steel in the driveway, and and it's one of those things. And
Unreal.
And Scott Big Scott's dad. It's like he could have been inside watching a game. He could have been out. He could have been doing anything, but he was hanging out with us and making us better, us young men, better at our craft and sharing what he knew with us. And and I wish more of that happened. Maybe a lot of it does, and I just don't see it. But for us, it was. I have had a lot of great men in my life share being a strong man, being there, and like wanting to impart that wisdom and that time with us. And so that was something that really was valuable in my life.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because that's how you become better. Look at some of the people that are in our industry. I call it the fruit on the tree.
Yeah.
If they had something I wanted, I would go. People would say, I even say this to people today, how can you be a paint correction specialist? Mm-hmm. That's the big term in our industry now,
Okay.
paint correct, buffing and polishing. If you've never been in a paint booth,
Yeah, so
you have to understand that technology.
That's been something in your industry that's been interesting for me to see is that you'll have people that just cut and finish other people's work, and and that always seemed I'm no knock, but
Yeah, that's not a knock.
But for me, I always thought that was the fruit of putting it on the car, right? Because when you're laying it down, sometimes, it's like, and I don't paint. I mean, hell, we ought to have Casey in here if you want to talk about that. And another amazingly talented friend of mine, right? And is that if you're good at putting it on and you know how you're going to finish it post-fact and what the reasons are for it, I always felt like that was the cherry on top, right? Like you got to finish your good job. In a high production shop, it's going to be somebody else.
Right.
But like in the hot rod world and in this private, do the best you absolutely can. I really felt like, and perhaps I'm wrong, I felt like that was a painter's joy to get to finish out that thing. And I figured if you knew how it went on and how much you put on, and you put it on a certain way so that you could come back and cut it, I just felt like it was part and parcel. But I understand these days it's not.
Yeah, it's not. A lot of guys today, and another thing you hit on that I really elaborate on as well is that, while you're working, are you trying to figure it out? So some people, they do a job today. It's in every industry. Mm-hmm. They do whatever they're doing, and they do it, and they get a result.
Yes.
But it's like, do you want to evolve?
Yeah, you have to want to.
Well, how does Aaron Kaufman get a TV show? How does Mel Craig, get a big brand all over the U.S.? How does Don Ramsey have the biggest van? Because we put our heart and soul into what we do. We don't just do one thing. There's so much that we're involved in.
I'll tell you for me, and y'all's paths probably are a little different. I'll tell you for me, I got lucky. There's no other way around it. I mean, I think in the luck, I think think I've earned it while I was there, but I didn't get there because of I got lucky, right? Someone else around me, Richard, was deeply interested in being famous, and I got to come along for the ride, and like as it turns out, those talents became useful, right? And but ultimately, I got asked a lot about being successful, which I never felt like I was. I don't now. I don't think I ever will. It's like those metrics. I just don't seem to get them the same way. However, to answer people's questions, I say it's pretty simple. Wherever it is you think you want to be, those opportunities won't knock on the door and ask you to come sit on the couch with them, right?
You need to go ask.
You have to put yourself in the position where luck happens.
Be assertive.
Yeah. So
My grandfather always used to say it's always a no unless you ask.
Yeah.
You know?
But definitely, it's like if you want something to happen, you have to go where that's happening and place yourself in a position to let opportunity find you. It isn't going to come knock on the door. That's the only thing I can say.
This is exactly how So I own a tire recycling company. We're 48 years old. Started the company down the street at Meadowlark Airport, and you've been to my location. I've been there 48 years.
Yeah.
And my brother and I learned how to recycle tires. Nobody was recycling tires back then. And we started a company called Ecology Tire. We first were just doing car tires. We got lucky, just exactly how you just said. And someone hired us to start picking up their junk truck tires. And it went from car tires to truck tires. And then we realized it was an open market, and we went everywhere. Like I used to work 10 to 12 hours a day, 5 to 6 hours, or 5 to 6 days a week, and did that without a question because we knew that we were
Building
we were the first ones doing it. No one was recycling tires back in the mid '70s. Believe me.
Oh yeah, and there are people out there. I think it's a type of human, right? That's like interested in finding the path, creating the path, like going out and doing stuff. And and the difference is some people want the path cut for them, and they'll never be the tip of the spear. And it's painful to be the tip of the spear.
Long story short, so integrated waste management got involved. It started in Sacramento because they realized, what are they going to do with all these junk tires? So they used me as a consultant to turn them on to different tires. What is recyclable? What's not recyclable? What is reusable? And define it against junk. They knew what junk tires were, but they did not know what used tires were.
You were establishing your industry.
I didn't know that yet.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah. Anyway,
by the way,
you're talking about it.
You mentioned Richard. How did you guys get to know each other? And Gas Monkey grew out of that, I guess.
I mean, kind of simple. I had a little shop. He needed some work done, so he was going to do a giveaway. He already had the Gas Monkey shop, and it was just two other guys and himself. And asked me. I came down and I did an air ride on a '52 Chevrolet, and they were going to give the car away. And then he asked me if I kind of wanted to run the shop. And I'll be honest, I had a little tiny 1,000 square foot shop. I was building air ride kits and shipping them to people I had met at shows and stuff like that. That's all it was. He asked me if I wanted to come down. I came and visited and did the car, and I could see all the opportunity, all the cars he'd been buying. It was cars I wanted to be around. One of the crazy, he had like the Frank DeRosa Shark, it was there, and he had all these like early Ford hot rods and stuff. And it was a place, because I came from mini trucking because we were kids and we didn't have any money, and so trucks were the only thing we could cut up. And I saw an opportunity, and so I went there, and I'll be straight up, and I'll give credit where credit's due. Is like when I sat down with him first day, he told me where he wanted to go, and I thought it was laughable and stupid and silly, but I could see the cars were there, and I wanted to be around the cars, and so we did that. And Richard and I had long before. I'll tell you, TV was the most boring portion of my life.
Was it really?
Oh, things were much wilder.
Was
before
it stressful too?
No, there was no stress on the other day. The other day was staying out of them silver bracelets.
Sure.
So no, we had some wild times, but Richard had his eyes fixed on being a big deal, and I was just happy to play cars anywhere and everywhere. And Richard took me on a bunch of wild adventures, and largely because like he liked being a wild man, and that involved wild cars, and so I was useful. And so we had a lot of great time. TV came along, and that was a different story. And I listen. This is the greatest opportunity I've ever had. Is I got not unlimited, but I got good budgets, and I had a group of guys that they wanted. You had to want to be there as hard as we worked. We were building 4 cars at a time. At one point, for 6 months, we worked about 120 something hours a week, 7 days a week for a little over about maybe closer to 7 months. And at the end of it, it was pretty obvious. We were all. The guys were going to lose marriages, weren't seeing their kids. People were sick, and then we kept working it down, and there was a lot of ups and downs through all that. But I got to build a lifetime of cars in 5 years. And when I say that, I'll be specific. So during my tenure at Fast and Loud, built 81 vehicles, 100 episodes, 81 vehicles. For every one of those, brought 2 or 3 others back from the grave and put them on the road, what we call our B-story cars. And so these are 81 frame-off, full-blown, from nose to tail cars. There are a couple, there are a few that are lighter than the other ones, and there are even a couple that, because of issues with either production or Richard, I stepped off, right? And so the TV may not reflect that, but there are a few that don't have my brand on them. But ultimately, 81 cars, over 100 episodes, and it accelerated my car building to a level that it would not be today, and a lifetime of cars in 5 years. It was amazing. Like I said, but also for people that don't understand, there was nothing else in my life. When I say, let me say this slower again. I switched off every other thing in my life to build cars at light speed. Wow. And the gentlemen that work with me, God bless them, it's like I'm not easy to work for, particularly under that stress level. And there was a lot of conversations to be had and a lot of motivating of the guys. But ultimately, they wanted to be there, or else no one would work that hard if you didn't want to be there. And I appreciate them. They did a good job for me.
When I was doing Wheeler Dealers, a lot of people asked me, why didn't I want to do more? Mike and Ant offered me more. Mm-hmm. But I watched them, it was 80, 90, 100-hour weeks. Just to do my episodes, I would, Mike would always, hey, Mel, we'll be out here by noon.
Yeah, right.
1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah, right.
Noon or 1 o'clock the next day.
Yeah,
by the time we were
that's
done.
And that's the thing. We kind of leave that part off. Is like I did mean 1. I didn't specify what one on what day.
1 o'clock, 24 hours. Let's bring it all around now. Let's talk about this past week. First off, you guys, for you guys to even want to meet me and come into my life in any way, I'm honored beyond belief. And the way you guys have treated both Don and I, this past week.
The way you guys have treated us has been incredible.
Yeah, I
you guys have been
don't
very
want to blow no
welcoming
smoke up your skirt,
yeah.
but to be honest, y'all played a big part in making this possible. I mean, an enormous part. I deeply appreciate it, and because I don't live here. I'm not soaked in this,
right.
And so it's like y'all working with Tyler to make this thing happen. It's like I'm so appreciative to have come along, to have been able to do this.
And that's my next question: why Huntington Beach?
Well, I live here. Bought a house here a few years ago. This is home. I've left a few times in my life, but I always come back. I look for opportunities and things, not for business, not for financial, but to provide value and provide something that people can be a part of. I grew up going to the Rose Parade with my grandpa, things like that, and I've been going to the Huntington Beach Parade, the past several years, and I saw this lull, when people bring their families out, people would leave. There's this midday gap between the fireworks and the parade, and I saw people leave, not stick around, then we'd see a different crowd come out at night, and I always wondered, what happens midday? What can we do on Main Street? What can we do to really bring the community together and keep people down here? Get something for these kids to look at, maybe inspire them. I mean, that's a big part of a lot of what we do is I really want people to, I guess a better way to say this was I feel like we're losing things in our community as a whole. I don't feel that our kids have a lot to look forward to if they're stuck in their phones all the time. I feel like they're losing tradition and values and hard work and
you don't have to think about it.
And for me, I want, like I said, tangible things for people to look at to inspire them. I mean, I bounced around a lot as a kid, and I had a lot of people that looked out for me and provided me with a lot of opportunities, and I want to be able to give that back. And when I saw this past week, I saw everybody's faces and everybody coming together. It was nice. I saw people walking slower through Main Street. I saw people enjoying their time. There wasn't people in a hurry to get out of there. It was cool to watch. I mean, what was your experience?
Well, one thing about the cars, there's a lot of fun, there's a lot of cool stuff out there. I mean, cars is just a thing, right? But the deal with the cars is you don't get them quickly, right? It's like for everybody that wants to go write a check, good for you. But those of us that want it to be ours, it's part of our stories. It has my identity, right? It's like it takes months, years of your life, right? And so this is part of who you are. You've chosen to give part of your life to building these cars. And so that's when, and, it's like everything is so disposable these days. Everything is so just put it on Amex or whatever, right? And so with the cars, you're invested. You have to do this for quite a while. You have to give up those hours in the garage, time when you could have been at the park or jogging or surfing, and you're putting narrow beams in the bus or putting a motor.
Just what he's talking about is that kid that we had our episode about Live Like Zach.
Oh, yeah.
Zach was exactly what he said. He did it for free to learn more about how to do it. So, and he went out helping.
That's what builds community.
He went out helping all kinds of people, and that's what he was about. But he also got in turn, he learned how to do stuff by helping people.
No, it's great. That's what it's all about.
It is. Yeah. It's funny because today I know, and this is just the society we live in, is today the kids, they don't want to wrench.
Yeah,
they want the fast and furious. They want the muscle, and they want the bumper to bumper, 100,000 mile warranty.
Yeah,
they buy it and drive it.
There's a word for it. It's called convenience. Everybody is so eat up with convenience, and I personally I believe that the things worth having in your life are worth bleeding for. And it's like anything that you doesn't cost you anything. What value is it to you, right? And so if you just pay it out over X months, or it's different, right? If you own it, you did side jobs for it, you hustled for it, you traded for it.
You don't take care of it the same. If you just paid for it. It's not really.
Because what's
you
the
didn't earn that.
What's the paper worth, right? But when it's your time, your sweat and your blood in something, it has a real world value. And I think that's also, for me, and I don't mean to get so philosophical about it, but when we talk about what value property is to us, and just a touch political, but when we say, well, there's no value to property crimes, are you kidding me? I don't know how many hours I have in this life and on this planet, and I've chosen to take that job, take that money, spend it on a thing, right? So when someone damages, destroys, denigrates a property, those are hours from someone's life that they'll never get back. And so when we talk about with a value of property, it's not the property. That's not it. The property is representation of the hours, days, months, years of my life. If you destroy someone's property, you're snatching some of their life away from them. So it's easy to understand why people get so upset about these things. At least that's the way I feel. And so bringing the cars down there, particularly for the younger generation, it's like we want them to be inspired by, if they're interested, if they're geared that way, to be inspired, to build, to grow, to do those things, to invest in something.
I was 16 years old, and I found out my uncle and my aunt were selling my aunt's car. Push button Dodge Dart.
Yeah.
Push button transmission Dodge Dart. My uncle's called me and said, "Hey man, I understand you're 16. You're looking for your first car." And I says, "I am."
Yeah.
He goes, "Well, your Aunt Elma will sell it to you for $150. I had $130 saved up in my bank account. I only needed $15.
Wow.
So I went to my dad and said, "Hey Dad, Uncle Lawrence is selling Aunt Elma's car." And he goes, "Yeah, I heard, and I understand you want to get it." I go, "Yeah, I do." And he goes, "Well, go get it."
Yeah.
I said, "Well, I need $15. He says, "Well, what do you want from me?"
Yeah.
"Well, Dad, I want the $15.
Go earn it.
He said, "No." He said, "I'll tell you what, Mel. I want you to come to work at the restaurant for 1 month. On the weekends, a little bit during the week after your homework, but I want you to come to work for 1 month, and I'll pay you $80 cash at the end of the month. That way you can get your car and get all set up, get all dialed in." And I go, "Okay, but can I have an advance, $15? "No."
No, because it ain't going nowhere. You can come do the work.
"But they're going to sell the car." He says, "Trust me, the car is going to be there." Yeah. But you're right, because the value, that car meant everything.
Everything. It was your identity.
As soon as I got home, I had to put, I got the $80. I had to get. Remember the Aloha surf racks? I had to have them on the car.
Got to say, Keystones, got shackles on the back.
I had to have the surf decals all over the glass and stuff. I mean, it was everything to me.
And tell me, once you got it all dialed in, that car was you.
It was everywhere I went. Even my friends. We all it's
piled
like,
in there.
Yeah,
it became
it was my identity.
You and your friends. That's who y'all were for that period of your life, and the car was at the center of it. And it doesn't, and it's not that for everyone, but it can be all kinds of things for different people. But for gentlemen like us, it was the car.
Yeah, it was.
It was the gateway to freedom, to becoming a young man, to becoming an adult, learning hard lessons. And it's a lot of responsibility responsibility, you know, to be out there with a 4,000-pound weapon, right? You know, and you're out there as a young man dealing with law enforcement rules, and it wasn't your dad and mom, you know. And so that first car is a very, very, very big deal.
Yeah.
I do think it orients us in a direction in life.
Yeah, it does.
And
Mine was a '66 Volkswagen Squareback.
Yeah,
Cool
Love
car.
that car.
Yeah.
awesome. Tyler, you were gonna say something?
I was just going to say that I feel like it's up to us. I mean, not to sound old. I mean, I'm only 42, but I'm starting to feel a little old when I start seeing all the kids out there doing all this stuff. But I feel like it's really up to us to plant a seed for these kids to have something to look forward to for their future, because they live here now, you know, and I'm trying to figure out what can we do, what opportunities can we provide them to give them some inspiration to actually do something, to get away from the screen,
let's
to get out, to get outside, to get their hands dirty, to communicate and build relationships face to face, not via a digital phone, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that, you know, I feel like it's our responsibility to fix what we can there, or we're going to lose in the long run. We got to start planting these seeds.
And you know, so this opportunity to be the sideshow, you know, to the big carnival, the parade, and I'll tell you something, you know,
Were you blown away?
I was. More so than I expected. Way more than I expected. And you know, and overwhelmed with so many feelings, right? You know, during the show, it's like I was so happy to be a part of it, and that to be asked. And once again, this isn't something I found. This is something Tyler brought to me and said, "Hey, do you want to do this? Are you into this?" And you know, I got to give a shout out to Casey. Casey's really, he put me on the phone before the
Casey McKeon, mayor.
That's right. Yeah. And so he put me on the phone. I was in Mississippi cutting. I'm not kidding. I was in Mississippi cutting trees with my homie out there, and he called me and they wanted to talk cars, you know. And Casey did, you know, because they were having this the show down on the beach, and I just gave him this la 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 about cars and Huntington.
This stemmed from a three-way call where Aaron was telling Casey about how deep the roots are in Huntington Beach and hot rod culture.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And
I've
our
been pushing that so hard.
trying to sell the mayor on the depth of hot rods here.
Yeah, it was really important, and we realized like, hey, there's this opportunity here, and we had some help in the city, like coming up with the way to put this all together to, you know, bring it to the community. And you know, Molly at City Hall was great. Casey was a big help getting all this stuff done, and you know, it turned out all right. I think
there were a lot of things to navigate, and you know, and I really don't deal with civics often, and it was interesting. We got it all done, and it's like. I could, from my standpoint, and you know, every other people may have different positions, but you know, I'm not in jail. There's no insurance claims. No one left in a helicopter, and so I'm gonna go with it was
That's
a success.
one way to look at it. That's a good way to look at it.
it was a little nerve-wracking navigating all the, you know, everything from the insurances and just all the safety precautions and communication and team
Liability.
planning. Like, there's so much behind the scenes to get something.
Risk management.
Yeah, and then being able to watch it. I actually felt great jumping in, helping you guys, and
Appreciate it.
I mean, I felt like, wow, you know,
You came in clutch with a lot of resources. We wouldn't have made it through this without you.
Yeah,
Well,
and also I think it's important that people understand, like, this is 3 weeks, right? We had the conversation a little longer, but this wasn't a real thing until a little more than 3 weeks ago. And so I'm blown. I mean, I barely make a ham sandwich in that amount of time. And so it's like Tyler putting all these moving pieces together. And, you know, I play my parts here and there, but ultimately Tyler managed this thing, put it together. Good, And you know, I'm good with hands-on stuff, and that's it. We came out and we tried to share what it is we do and what we love in a place that I love being. Even though I don't live here, to me, my only connection to Huntington Beach is hot rods, is car. And once again, I got a plug Chip. You know, I met him in Detroit, and this is a long time ago. And you know, and also I'm gonna plug somebody else. I met Jimmy Shine, and we have the pleasure of working together with MagnaFlow, that's out of Oceanside now. And Jimmy was such a big inspiration for me particularly at the time. And then the fact that Chip, which, you know, on TV, and Chip's such a big star, and I was just blown away with everything he was doing. I got to meet him. He invited us to come down and do his overhauling show. We did, and I still to this this day, the community, the people I know in this town are the people that I know from doing the Holland show, and every last one of them is just rock solid. And you got to think, here we are all these years later, and we still know each other, and we still talk, and it's like I'm very pleased. I have loved every minute of being a part of the car community.
Get a chance to meet Mitch Lanzini.
Yes. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Him and his wife, again, salt of the earth. Salt of the earth. Yep. Well, you guys, it's been great. What a wonderful show, and when you coming back, I don't know, but hopefully
whenever the opportunity allows, it's like I'll drop one last thing. Like I love airplanes, I love to fly, but I don't fly no more, right? Like I'm not big on surrendering my rights, and so I don't fly. So me, this dog, we jump in this near 50-year-old truck and we bomb across the country back and forth. And so when
that truck has Colorado written all over it.
It do, and it's got Colorado dirt all up inside of it. And so we love being out here. I've never been here and had a bad time. I absolutely love it. And like I said, I've mentioned many times, it's not a gimmick. When I come to California, I like to be in Huntington Beach, and this is my home away from home. This is the people I know.
Glad to hear it.
And so I love being here. Thanks so much for having us out, guys, and everything to make this weekend possible.
We got to do it again.
I couldn't have done it.
Sure.
So.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for joining us. This is Tyler Wolff and Aaron Kaufman, you guys. And by the way, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Yep, that one. The one. Yeah, look on your screen. There it is, right there. It says subscribe. Push it. Thank you guys for joining us. I'm Mel Craig.
And I'm Don Ramsey.
And woohoo, let's rock.
All right.